Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the DTRS class of 118. So today we have selected the lead topic as India and the category 1 of CITES. India and the category 1 of CITES. We will understand this, that what is basically the news behind this. Now before moving towards our 10 MCQs, today first of all we will deal, as we usually deal, with a quotation. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. Given by Robert Frost, one of the famous poem which you would have studied during your school time, your English literature, basically, and the heading or the poem was famously known as the road not taken. So basically this line presents a kind of ethical dilemma or a moral dilemma or a situational dilemma in any individual's life. That for example, a certain time will come where you have to take, you have two situations and you have to take one decision. So, and depending upon that, you will try to say at a later point of time that when you had taken a decision, that what would have been the so-called impact if I would have taken that decision earlier, not to take the first one or the second one. Okay, and we generally try to regret that कि चलो यार काश मैंने कि उस टाइम पे वो डिसीजन ले लिया होता, काश कि मैंने इस टाइम पे ये डिसीजन ले लिया होता. So all this represents what the dilemmas which we face in our life. So basically how do we have to deal this? Now when basically this kind of dilemma comes to our life, the thing is that we need to maintain patience, we need to be calm, and at the same time we should take the help of our knowledge. Now being adamant in life, sometimes you are not ready to learn, sometimes you are not ready to cooperate. That creates a problems in one's individual's life, and that is why it becomes a cause of regret in future. So when we are taking decision in our life, we have to study properly that situation, we have to think about that situation, we need to take help from our surroundings, from whosoever do we believe and whatsoever and then we take the decision so that in future we don't have to regret about it. Okay, so that way it is an endless debate. It is my perception, there can be thousands of perceptions related to this. Okay, so you remember this and try to utilize it wisely in your life. Now, so we have selected the 10 topics today. You can see, starting from the convention on the sites and going up to the cosmic wine. So let us start with the first question. With reference to the Convention on the International Trade, that is the CITES, consider the following statement. Recently, India has been placed under category 1 . इसमें वो बोर्ड क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? अच्छा, okay, so the first statement reads, India has been placed under the category 1 of the national legislation project of CITES. A member country is placed under category 1 when its domestic legislation does not fulfill the CITES requirement. CITES is legally binding on member state and is self-executing in nature. Okay, so The recent context that basically India was in the category 1 of the national legislation project of CITES, it is right. A member country is placed under category 1 when its domestic legislation does not fulfill the CITES requirement. Now under this national legislation project of the CITES, basically 3 categories are there. 1, 2 and 3. 3 categories are there. Category 1 basically when the national or any member state who has signed this CITES convention or is a party to this CITES convention, when all the legislation, when the domestic legislation are as per the requirement of the CITES, then it falls in the category 1. When not all the legislations are as per the CITES requirement, then it falls in the category 2. And when majority or most or almost none of them are as per the requirement of the CITES, then they fall in the category of 3. So here basically it is saying what? A member country is placed under category 1 when its domestic legislation does not fulfill the CITES requirement. No. Under category 1, when the domestic legislation fulfill the CITES requirement, then it will be placed under category 1. So this statement is incorrect. CITES is legally binding on member state and is self-executing in nature. Yes, it is legally binding, but it is not self-executing because one has to make the policies. Any member state, they would have to make the policies, only then it will be applicable. So this statement is incorrect. So what do we find? Only statement 1 is the correct answer, and the correct answer is option A here. Now apart from this, what extra all of you need to study? You study about the CITES. Now what is the background of this CITES basically? Why this was in news? Basically red sanders. It was under the review of the site. Red sander basically, I have told in the earlier classes also, it is an endemic species to the few districts of the Andhra Pradesh. So there is a limited restrictions are there that you cannot use it for trade purpose. But only for those red sanders which grow in wild. But artificial production basically in the plantation it is required, that in the plantation you can do that. So that way it helps the farmers or the person or the people who are engaged in the plantation of the red sanders. That is economically helpful for them. So now when this category has been done, so there were some restriction towards this export of this red sanders done in the plantation. But now that restriction will be removed, there will be no problem, and it will be fruitful for those plantationers who are doing the plantation of this red sanders. Not of the wild, but of the artificial, that is the plantation economy. Remember that. Okay, so correct answer is statement 1 only. Now this is the thing, this is the context. Bhupendra Yadav say based on compliance and reporting, India has been removed from the review of significant trade process for red sanders. This is the context why it was in news. Okay. Now with reference to the windfall tax on crude oil, consider the following statement. A windfall tax is levied when global crude oil price falls below $75 per barrel. No, this statement is incorrect. When the prices rise above $75 per barrel, then windfall tax is levied. It is imposed to check supernormal profit by the producing company. Basically, what is windfall tax? Sometimes due to any international turmoil or due to any situation, a particular sector and some particular companies in a particular sector, they make extraordinary profit. Now the government, in order to control that extraordinary profit, try to impose this windfall tax. So this is the concept behind the windfall tax. So basically to check the supernormal profit by the producing company. So this statement is right. India is not the only country which imposes windfall tax on crude oil. Yes, this statement is also right. So Germany is there, United Kingdom is also there, which imposes the windfall tax on the crude oil. Okay. So the first statement is incorrect, the second and the third statement is correct. So answer is option B. This is government slashes windfall tax on crude petroleum diesel export. This is the context. Now question number 3. Consider the following statement in respect of the Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue. It is an annual apex level strategic dialogue under the aegis of the Ministry of External Affairs. Naval War College, Goa is the organizing agency of IPRD. So if you remember that what is basically this Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue, yes, it is a strategic dialogue, but it is not organized under the Ministry of External Affairs, but it is of Indian Navy. Okay, remember this is of Indian Navy. And as far as the Naval War College, Goa is the organizing agency, no, National Maritime Foundation. National Maritime Foundation, which is in New Delhi, is the organizing agency of IPRD. Okay, so here what do we find? Both the statements are incorrect, so answer is option D. So you study about this Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue, you study about the National War College, Goa, and you study about the National Maritime Foundation. Okay, these three things are there which you need to do extra for this question. Okay. So 23rd edition of the Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue, this is the context of the question. Now, consider the following statement regarding the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative, ICCI. It was established as an outcome of the UNFCCC COP15 held at Copenhagen. Yes, this statement is basically right. Now what is basically this, before going towards this, what is cryosphere? Cryosphere is basically the region which is covered with snow and ice. Okay, basically the regions of the earth which are covered with the snow and the ice, that is known as the cryosphere. International Cryosphere Climate Initiative, it was established under this COP15 which was held at Copenhagen basically in the year 2009. So first statement is correct. It works with only climate researchers and scientists to create, shape and implement initiative designed to preserve as much earth cryosphere as possible. Now if we find this statement, an extreme statement is there, only climate researchers and scientists. No, it basically, along with this, it works with the government institutions also. Okay, so it is not limited only as a research body, but it works with the government institution also. So this statement is incorrect. State of the Cryosphere Report is the annual publication of ICCI since 2021. Yes, this statement is right. Recently the report has been published. Okay, so here what do we find? Statement 1 and 3 are correct, so answer is option B. Okay. So world needs to limit global warming to 1.5 to protect cryosphere 2 degrees Celsius too high report. So basically the state of the cryosphere report has come and it has said that we need to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now with reference to the NISAR satellite, consider the following statement. It is a low Earth orbit observatory being jointly developed by the NASA and ISRO. It is the first satellite mission to use dual frequency radar imaging to measure changes on the Earth's surface. So first statement, it is a low Earth observatory jointly developed by the NASA and ISRO. Yes, this statement is right. NISAR is basically an initiative, NASA and ISRO. That way you can remember NISAR. Okay. It is a first, so low Earth orbit observatory. Now what is this? Basically two type of orbits. This satellite positioning is there. One is the LEO and the second one is the GEO. What basically happens is that if we suppose that if this is the Earth, in the geostationary orbit, the satellite will be placed according to if this is the equator, then the satellite will be placed fixed upon this. It will revolve around in this equator line. But when it is placed in this low Earth observatory, apart from being placed in this line, it can be tilted also. So for example, it can move in this way, it can move in this way. While if it is in geo, it will move only in this way, only along the equator. While in the Leo orbit, it can be moved in any way. It can be tilted in any direction to give a more clear picture of that particular terrain. Okay. So this statement is correct. It is the first satellite mission to use dual frequency radar. Yes, this statement is also correct. Basically, the L band and the S band radar are basically used to enhance the Earth imaging or to map the changes which are occurring in the Earth's surface. Okay. So here both the statement are correct. So correct option is option C. Okay. So study about this. It is an important topic related to your science and technology. Okay. So NASA ISRO complete key test ahead of the NISAR launch early next year. So it is going to be launched in the year 2024. Remember that. Okay. Now with reference to the gamma ray burst, consider the following statement. The energy behind the GRB come from the solar flare. They are classified as long duration and short duration based on the energy released. The nitrogen oxide generated by the GRB have the potential to destroy the ozone layer of the Earth. So first statement, the energy behind the GRBs, that is the gamma ray burst, come from the solar flare. No, this statement is incorrect. Basically, during the formation of the black hole, the energy which is released, it leads to basically the coming out of this gamma ray burst. Now here all of you need to keep this in mind, that always the formation of a black hole will not always result into this. Okay. So it is not that always whenever a black hole is formation or a supernova is there, then it is always going to form a GRB. Okay. But yes, when it is formed, when this GRB is formed, the result will be either a supernova or a formation of a black hole. Okay, remember that. So this statement is incorrect. They are classified as long duration and short duration based on the energy released. Statement ही बता रहा है that they are framed in a wrong manner. Statement से ही पता चल रहा है. यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है duration और यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है energy. Energy we try to measure. What is the SI unit of energy? Basically it is the joule. और duration तो time में होता है. So statement के framing से ही पता चल रहा है कि that there is some problem in that. It cannot match. So this statement is incorrect. They are classified as long duration and short duration based on the energy. No. Basically on the basis of for how much time they survive. Okay. For what is the time duration of this gamma ray burst, that is the area or the ground for classification. The nitrogen oxides generated by the GRBs have the potential to destroy the ozone layer. Yes, this statement is correct. Nitrogen oxide, one of the prominent reason for the greenhouse gases, and they are responsible for the destruction of this ozone. So what do we find? First is incorrect, second is incorrect, third is correct. So here the correct answer is option A. Okay. Now let us move to next question. So a star exploded 1.9 billion light years away under our ozone layer took the hit. So this is a new kind of research is there. The word Musenda conferata, recently seen in the news, refers to fossil of a dinosaur, a human species, a plant species, a cave system found in the northeast India. So basically the correct answer is option C. Basically it is a plant species which has been found in the Western Ghat, particularly in the state of Kerala. in the southern portion of the Western Ghat, and these are basically herbs which are having potential medicinal values. Okay, so you need to remember this, that where they have been found and what are their uses. Okay. Now BSI scientists discovered 2 new plant species on the Western Ghat. This is the context of the news. Now, with reference to the exercise Mitra Shakti, consider the following statement. It is a joint military exercise as a part of bilateral defense cooperation between India and Indonesia. No, Mitra Shakti is an exercise between India and Sri Lanka. Remember this, Mitra Shakti. Exercise between India and Sri Lanka. So this statement is incorrect. The aim of the exercise is to jointly rehearse sub-conventional operation under the chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. Now this chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, it basically gives the power to the Security Council of the United Nations to take steps, it can be military also, for the international peace and security. Okay, so under this, what is basically it is saying, the aim of the exercise is to jointly rehearse sub-conventional operation under chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. So if 2 countries are doing their joint exercises and they are part of the United Nations, so they can, for example, both these countries can have a simulation exercise how to deal a joint terror or a terrorist attack is there. For example, if a ship is going and it is, having the interest of the India and the Sri Lanka. Now how both these countries combine together and jointly tackle this terrorist attack. So that way, in that context, this chapter 7 deals with the part of or developing a military cooperation between 2 countries is there. So this statement is correct. The scope of the exercise includes synergizing joint responses during counter-terrorist operation. Yes. So it is related to this. So both these statements are correct. So what do we find? Option B is the correct answer. Okay. So Mitra Shakti 2023, recently it has been held. So this is the context. Now, which of the following statement most aptly, remember, most aptly explain life imprisonment is the rule and death penalty the exception in Indian context? So you need to justify your 4 statement has been given and you have to find out that which is the most suitable thing which can justify this. So first, a death penalty cannot be awarded in cases where life imprisonment is adequate. The death penalty in India should be imposed only for criminal cases and not in civil cases. This type of thing has not been there. Any judgment does not say this kind of idea. Life imprisonment create more deterrence to commit crime than death penalty. It is also not appearing logical. The fear of execution makes people less likely to commit serious crime. But we cannot say this. There are some people who say कि चाहे 1 murder करें या 10 murder करें, मिलना तो उतना ही है punishment. So we cannot go with this. So what do we find is basically that this statement is the most appropriate part. Life imprisonment is the rule and death penalty is the exception. The death penalty cannot be awarded in cases where life imprisonment is adequate. So basically the Supreme Court or many of the judgment they have said, highlighted that giving death penalty should be in the rarest of the rarest crime. Okay, rare of the rarest crime, the government should or the court should give this death penalty, and many times death penalty has been given by the inferior court and the Supreme Court has overruled it and given and converted it to life imprisonment. Okay, so this is basically justified by this statement. Okay, so here the correct answer is option A. So life over death, 1 death penalty abolition and parliamentary panel report. This is the context why it was in news. Okay, now your last question. Recently seen in the news, cosmic wine refers to A cluster of dark matter formation in outer space, a network of wormholes connecting distant galaxies, space-time anomaly near the Milky Way galaxy, a massive structure that encompasses numerous galaxies. So basically here the correct answer is option D. It was recently seen in the news, the cosmic vine, a massive structure of a galaxy which surrounds numerous galaxies. Okay, it is a kind of structure, it is extensive structure. So now as far as these things are considered, you will tell that how to remember. Basically these are direct things, and if questions are asked in the UPSC, then there is a direct probability that you have to remember these terms and these exact words. They just exactly put down the word and just will give you 4 sentences or 4 options, and that you have to find out. So if you just remember one of the hint, then you will be able to find out the answer for this questions. Okay, so here the correct answer is option D. Okay, so scientists uncover enormous cosmic structure containing a whopping 20 galaxies. Okay, this is the context. So that's all for today's DTRS. The 10 MCQ we have covered. Try to go towards the file which is there in the description link, revise it, and if you have any kind of query, question, doubt, you can always come out, ask your doubts and queries. Okay, so that's all. Again we will meet for tomorrow's class. Okay, thank you.